Welcome back to Stationeers. I just wanted to cover a few things first of all. I did get some other patch notes that are on the beta branch. The developers are working on a couple of things to do with trading, and one of them is like a trading post of some kind, like a landing pad basically where ships will land on. And the other one is a satellite dish, which is controlled like solar panels, X, Y axes and stuff. I don't know how that's intended to work yet, whether we have to actually aim it at a particular point in the sky, which would be kind of cool if we do, to be honest. But I just thought I'd mention it, just so in case you are building bases. You may want to think about leaving room somewhere out here for a landing pad, probably a large one. I'm not sure how big it actually is yet, probably, maybe, I don't know, 5x5 or something like that. And the satellite dish as well. Apparently, when trading comes in, that will bring in ships and they'll come in and you've got to make sure they don't crash into stuff. So that's why I say out here rather than somewhere on top of your base or something like that. You don't want them to accidentally crash into your, I don't know, your tower of active vents or whatever you actually decide to use. I haven't found them in the various... wow, is that the only two recipes in the tool maker? And what is a basket for? Very, very odd. Except I can build... Oh, okay. Now it's showing me the whole thing. Fine. Not quite sure what was going on there. Is there anything in here? I was just wondering whether it's actually in the tool manufactory. I couldn't find it in any of the other machines yet. So if they aren't there, and it doesn't look like it looks like they're not there. I certainly couldn't see it in the fabricator or in any of the machines I've found so far. So as far as I know, the recipe isn't in the game. Maybe you have to spawn it in, which is quite common very early on in beta. So I'm not going to cover it until it's actually selectable in a machine that if you're following along on beta, you can actually follow along with. I don't want to just spawn in stuff that is just not ready for at least testing yet. So that's just a quick thing that I'll mention at the start before we get on with the rest of the episode. The rest of the episode is going to be quite a simple one today, actually. Nothing too stressful. I thought I'd take a break from the coding. I know I know a lot of you do like the coding side and a lot of you perhaps don't. So I thought I'd cover something a lot more simple. We're going to have a problem with stuff like this. Essentially trash. It's accumulating, shall we say, in the base. And without any way to get rid of it, we just put it in lockers and inside vending machines, and the stuff will pile up. And even the stuff I've built by mistake that I want to actually basically recover the materials. The choice you've got to make here is that if you decide to use what I'm about to show you to get rid of the stuff that you don't want anymore, you'll only get about half the materials back you used to make it. So if you have a chance of using that in the future, then you may want to think about using it in the future and maybe just building, another one of these vending machines. They're fairly compact, and 100 different types of things is fairly good. In any case, we're going to need two things. We're going to need a recycler, which I've selected here. It's in the auto lathe, so we need to go into the auto lathe and wait for everything to cycle around. And that's a stacker. That's not what I actually want. A recycler. I'm almost certain it's in here. Yeah, kit recycler. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to need a centrifuge, which is the other part. Now, I've already made the centrifuge, and I had it stored somewhere. So let me just change that, and that will just make it and pop out here once it's done, or at least it may... Actually, it'll probably stay in there until I actually pull the handle. The centrifuge I've got over here. Yeah, there it is. And this is a much bigger unit than the recycler, if I remember correctly. So you're going to need somewhere to put all of that, which means some fairly large amount of room to think about it. In my case, I'm not going to use it all that often, so I could put it up on what's effectively the roof at the moment. I'm not going to need to do so much processing. Let me have a look around for a suitable spot. Okay, so a brief note on my base. I've obviously got this elevator here, or lift if you're from the UK, and you can't really enclose the top of this thing. So in my case, what I might have to have here is another floor that the elevator doesn't reach to, if I want the elevator to come up to this floor. And that could be a really small floor. It can either be one block high, or it could be much higher. And we can use windows to basically insulate and not only insulate, but pretty much to take in heat from the sun to warm the base if we actually wanted to do that. So you see I've obviously got this floor up here. It's very, very empty at the moment. Lots of available space to go wherever we like. We're now on top of the hydroponics. So it's essentially even sort of Y level, or rather even height, with the hydroponics area. So we've got plenty of stuff in here, and I didn't really ever need this sort of thing because we've got canisters which will keep me fed quite easily, and far more easily than just pressurizing that space. So I think we'll get to the point of using this whenever which is all this is doing is just filtering oxygen when we actually pressurize the base, whenever I get to completely enclosing the thing. So in the meantime, yeah, so if you did want this to go all the way up to a roof, you might want to think about, you can probably enclose the sides of this thing and maybe the top, but we'd need to have, maybe a 1 block space and then, an airlock. So you probably want 2 space like that, and then you'd have roof access, or maybe even an entirely separate external elevator or something like that down the side, and just assume that it's going to be depressurized, it's going to be open to the atmosphere, and it's just like an emergency elevator, or you could just use a ladder or something like that. But they are a bit dangerous still at the moment, so especially the top end of the ladder, if I remember correctly. I've not tried them in a while, but they were dangerous. So up here then, I guess we can think about just putting our trash sort of area up here. We don't need it that often. And the main thing we're going to be using trash for is exactly what this is, filters. In my suit right now, what are we up to? I'm on 74%. So my suit's filter is fine, but I've just been replacing various filters around the base, and be able to reclaim some of that material will be very useful. And the filters, of course, are entirely useless once they're down to 0%. There's no other way of dealing with them. I was just hoping that I'd already have a cable up here somewhere. And I was just looking around, and I don't think I actually do have a cable. I may have to run one. Let's have a look. Where have we got a cable available? That's about the closest point, I think. And yeah, do we have anything else going around? No, it doesn't look like we do. So maybe we just put it out here then. Maybe just put our trash area out here. We've got this area where I put my computer, and we've got a couple of other things. The only thing about it is that it does take up a lot of room. So wherever you decide to put it, make sure you've got enough room. And let's take a look. So is this the recycler? This is the smaller thing. So this is much like one of our typical machines that we use at the auto lathe. And you may want to put this sort of to the left of where everything else is. Ooh, actually, let's look at those batteries. Those batteries are down to 2 full and 3 empty at sunrise. So yeah, I may have to keep an eye on that, see if that's actually reducing or increasing over time. And just before I place down the recycler, I just want to double check what our temperatures are up to 954, which is exactly what we want, around 300 degrees. Above that is 1250-ish, which is where I've set the temperature to. So this is working pretty well. And while I must remember to put that safety valve, and I'll put that in a couple of minutes. I just want to get this sorted first. So this way around means stuff exits to the right, which means I'm probably going to want to build from the right to the left here, just because this next block is rather large. Okay, so if we turn this around, stuff goes in on the left, goes out on the right, and it's huge. So if we have this here, I'll still have room for the computer next to it, I think. Yeah, I want sort of the entrance sort of in the middle of the block. Yeah, let's take a look at how that looks. No, that's in the wall. I don't necessarily want to put it in the wall. No, I don't want construct, I want deconstruct. Crowbar required to deconstruct. Okay, let's try that again. Maybe it just needs one more room. So let's move it one further out. Oh, that's just the partial state, that's why. Okay, yeah, so there's multiple build states now in a lot of machines, and we didn't have that before. This used to just build, and that was it, it was done. So a wrench and 2 steel sheets are required. And this is somewhat then like Space Engineers. If you've played Space Engineers, you know what I mean. There's various build states. When you put things down, you have to complete them, usually with a welder of some kind. And it seems like Stationeers is going the same way. And of course, I got one steel sheet. Really, one. Oh no, hang on. Got some on the backpack. There we go. I hope that's steel, not iron sheets. And yep, construct. There we go. Welding torch and 2 steel sheets. Okay, multiple stages. There we go. Yeah, that looks to be all done. I hope. Alright, and we don't necessarily want to always automatically import stuff. So I think what I may do is separate it by more than one or something along those lines. And let's see if we can get that connected broadly in line, in case we do want to do this automatically. Yeah, there we go. It slightly irritates me that the import and export slots are lined up, but the power ones aren't. That does sort of irritate me, but there's nothing much I can do with that. I think that's just unfortunate. So let's just cable this up then. This doesn't have multiple build states at the moment, but it might do in future. So if yours doesn't automatically build, just you get the idea what you need to do. And then we just get some cable. I want you to hook it up to the rest of it. I'm not going to hook up to this line. This is just a direct line from our batteries. I'm going to pull it from this side of things instead. Because we're rarely going to use this, and I don't think it's going to take up too much room, but yeah, we'll see. So if I just remove you for a second, and then we'll just replace that with a junction and flip it around that way. There we go. And then we can, I'm not sure I'm going to need the data ports, to be honest, so I will leave them out for now. And, you know, if we need them later, we can do them. I've left room along just for the data port on that side if we ever need it. But if we don't, it's fine too. And let's just take care of the cable so that everything is neatly connected. And I've got enough. I do have enough. That looks more promising. There we go. Which means that should be available. Yep. Okay, so stuff, when it's been dealt with, it should pop out this side. So then we can just think about stuff going in this side. So why don't we just get some, give this a try, iron frames. Well, I don't want iron frames actually, so we can use that as one option. Should get some iron back, you'd hope. Or at least not very much of it. And we've got some filter pollutants there. I have a little bit of space in my backpack. Filter CO2, that's 100%. Another pollutant filter, yeah, good. And let's input them here and see what we get out of this thing. So, iron frames then. Let's turn this on. And do we get anything? Oh. Uh-oh. Maybe they're a bit too close together. Yeah. If I turn this on, what happens? It's just going to export because it's just a pure ore. Yeah, and we've got 6 iron ore, which is 6 iron ore. Is it 2 iron ore per frame? I would expect that to give me 50% back, but I thought iron frames were cheaper than that. I thought they were 2 each, so that gives us everything back. Let's try with the filter, and then I'll go and look up the recipe. So that goes through. It's going to open, hopefully. The reagents go through here, and we get some iron back out. And we're going to get something else out of here. Can I see the contents anywhere? Maybe not. But it certainly is continuing. Okay, and let's just carry on with more filters. Or used up filters, that is. Come on. Okay, so reagents are going in here. And it is just giving me iron back. Fair enough, I don't mind. Whatever I can get back out of this is fine, and it seems to be largely automatic. If there is a way of getting more than this out of there, do let me know. But why don't we just get our tablet, and we should be able to see with the configuration cartridge if there is anything in here, maybe. There is 3 things in the import count, 3 things in the export count. but it's not really telling me much more. Will it give me another set of stuff? Doesn't look like it. So if anyone knows if that can come up with other stuff, do let me know. But otherwise, it's largely a trash can that gives me some iron ore back, and that will help, certainly. I don't need to keep them on all the time, though, so we can just pop them off for now. There we go. And I've got some iron ore. And that also is a good point to come over to the furnace, because having some iron ore is a good point to test this now. So we're going to want to just fill it, or at least a little bit, so that you can actually start processing the ores. And that will do to start, I think. Yeah, it looks like it's processing ores, because you can tell with its temperature fluctuations. There we go. And it's filling now, it looks like. So at the higher temperature, that is. So we should be okay to just pop some more in. Yep, there it is. It's opened again, you see. And then let's just wait for that to process. Yep, and the third batch. And then we should be able to go grab some coal and get ourselves some steel out of this. So do I have enough coal? Yep, I've got a batch of 50. I've got some more mining belts over there, so we're not going to run out of coal anytime soon. And let's pop you in. Let you process. And done. And the temperature is not high enough yet, so we're just going to increase that a little bit. Leave that over there for a second. So let's fill this a little bit more. And that should start increasing. Why are you not feeding in? Interesting. Let me just dump the gas out of that for a second then, and let's see if that's actually affecting things. Evac the furnace, are you working? Yeah, you are. It's also possible that I don't have enough input gas, but I don't think so. I think we've got more than enough. Fine. And yeah, 1.25 MPa. So yeah, I'm not quite sure why that wasn't working. Now it is. Temperature's dropping, but the pressure's building. That's fine. And we'll see at one point it will actually say it's going to produce steel. Right now it's going to do just fine. There we go. And let's just turn the furnace fill off. And we've got some more steel. Cool. And I didn't have to wait for it to warm up. That does happen automatically now. Of course, now we can feed the stuff back out and into our system. Which reminds me, let me just make another back pressure. Well, I need to make a back pressure regulator, because I need that safety valve. At least we definitely need that safety valve, just in case my system overloads everything. And that's an easy one to do. We just need a pressure regulator. I just wait for all our ingots to arrive, see them flying around through the overhead tubes. I will put them on the ground one of these days, but I sort of do like the windows overhead. Sort of fun. There you go. So pressure regulator goes in, and we'll be done shortly. I think it takes a little while, but not very much. There it is. And we just need, put that away, some pipes, which I have, and a tool just to pull the floor up. Grab this. And I think we said anywhere on that pipeline, so we don't have to worry about it. And I want a back pressure regulator. Important. Going maybe this way. We're going to need a power connection. Let me just pull up more floor. I thought I do have power around here. Thought I did. And again, anywhere on this line and anywhere on this line should be fine, because these are all loaded in parallel. They're not in series. If you put yours in series, they work too. And I suppose there's a debate over which one works best. But if that's the case, you need to put it in, obviously, before the start of everything. As it is, however, this is a nice, handy location for this. Let's put it, well, you can't really get it in the middle exactly. So is that back pressure regulator? It is. So then we just want to set that up. So I'm going to grab the rename tool. And what do we want to? That's just the name of it. I want to set it to something. 50 kPa is its default. Is it kPa? Yeah, 50 kPa. So we want to set that to 10,000, I think. Okay. And a back pressure regulator, when this side is at 10,000, it will open. And when it's below that, it will stay shut. So we've got everything sorted. We're just going to need some pipe work. And a tool just to rework the pipes here a little bit. There we go. Deconstruct that pipe, deconstruct this pipe. And just go for a T-junction. There we go, one there. One there. And that's pretty much job done apart from the cable. So let's grab a little bit of extra cable. There's our junction. And we're done, I think. Now these are pretty much auto-regulating. So let's take a look. Let me just grab the cartridge. Atmospheric analyzer. Assuming that when I turned it on, I didn't just override it and it just started exhausting everything. Maybe I did. That's still increasing. That's fine. Oh, it's because it is actually active. Yeah, we were over 10, so it is now exhausting some of that out there, and it's at -5, so everything is fine there. So we are actually piling up the pressure on this side. It's not going to be terribly fast, mind you. We may have to do more in parallel if that doesn't do enough. Or you can just use a volume pump and electronically control it. So say if this side is above 10, open and pump everything out. So I will see how well that does. Let's keep an eye on it over the next episode or two, and we can always replace it with something a little bit faster if we need to. What's making a beeping noise? Oh, it's one of these. One of these filters will have died. Maybe not. What are you having a problem with? You're fine. You have a filter. The filter is 100%. Oh, was that? That wasn't a three-way connection. That was a four-way connection. Or it needs to be a four-way connection now. Let me just fix that. That's a quick fix. Just grab you and just put this into a junction. Going like that. There we go. Before I break my atmospheric system, I want to make sure it's all okay. So that is fine. And whenever they get a certain amount of pressure, they'll all turn on as they did and relieve the pressure. Or at least that's the theory. Whether this will be fast enough to keep up is something else entirely, because this is at 15 already. Yeah, so we may want to think about how we change that before it gets up near 60. Okay, speaking about that then, just moving on. Yep, so back to our little program over here. What we can actually do if we want to make sure that gas is colder, I did mention at the end of the last episode, but we're going to add a bit of a time, is instead of doing the capture of gas when things are above a certain temperature, we can do them when they're between a range of two temperatures. Okay, so we'd still get heat out of it, because remember, the coolers will take the heat all the way down to they normally get to about -150, -170, something like that, below Celsius, that is. So that's what 100 Kelvin or something. So they will still allow us to heat the furnace, even if we grab the atmosphere when it's colder. It just means we're starting off from a colder point, and then the extra gas that we're injecting into or the reuse of that gas that we're injecting will be at a colder state by default, so saving some power elsewhere in the system. And that should be relatively simple to change. All that we have to do really is look at our comparisons. You know, when are we actually doing the shutdowns? When are we cooling? And when are we purging? So what we have is this case. This is where we're jumping, but up here we have the comparisons. So let's just say we wanted to, let's see. I think we can just reuse one line here because this is the line that's important. The SGT, coolant insert, outside temperature, high temperature. This is saying when temperatures are above what I've set. Okay. And then we'll do a coolant insert. However, what we can do is then say if temperatures are above the low temperature, i.e. C low temperature, which is R12, so C low temperature, so at any point above that, it will be 1. Yeah, I think. Yes. And then if before we actually carry on with that, we can do a second comparison. So if it's above the low temperature, but now we do the same thing. If it's R cool and insert, our outside temperature again. And then we're doing a comparison to if it's below the high temperature. So we need to just change the instruction to SLT, I think. So it'll assess this, and if it's greater than the low temperature, it'll set coolant insert to 1. And if it's less than the upper temperature, it'll set it to 1. But if it goes too high, i.e. during the daytime, it will hit 0. So we'll have overwritten this value straight away before we actually get to branching. Okay, so we'll assess that all the time. And between those two values, it will then, start working. And then, of course, we can just carry on and purge when it's below the low temperature, importantly. I think that's enough. And that will just change how or when we actually do the work. So you see now, before it wasn't working when we were at a certain point. Now it should work anywhere between -50 and I think it was 273. What's the high temperature? You should see on the screen there. Yeah, so anywhere between -50 Celsius and 0, it should be inserting gas and cooling. So that should be 1, 1, 1. And then when it gets too high, it'll stop pulling gas in. And when it gets too low, it'll stop pulling gas in and it will purge into the system. So that should be a nice way of reducing the temperature in here. And of course, you can play with the values as much as you like. This one is already at minus 12. So you can see we're actually pulling in gas from the atmosphere before it actually gets to daytime. So now that should shut down at some point soon, I would hope. It's not. Why are you not? Maybe because it's going back around, I think. Maybe I'll have to make sure that this is assessed both at the same time and then, only then, write the value. Okay, let me rework that a second. Yep, just needed a little bit of a change in the logic and just a little bit of rearrangement. Not too much different, but I will show you the differences. All that we're really doing now is I've just got two temporary values here, R4 and R5. I'm not naming them because they are very temporary. And we're basically independently checking whether the temperature is greater than the low temperature and lower than the higher temperature, so it's in the range. And then we're ANDing those together. So if they're both true, i.e. I'm in that range, then I'm going to set our coolant insert to 1. Then further down here, when I was checking to previously, and I've just basically exported that to the settings so I can just double check what that value is, that's just a debug thing. And then instead of doing a comparison to purge here for purging, all I've basically done is saying if basically a coolant insert is 1, i.e. we're okay to do things, go to the warm. And if it's less than or equal to 0, i.e. it's not okay to do anything, then we want to purge. So if the temperature rises above the high temperature, we'll purge anyway. And if it falls below the low temperature, we'll also purge. And that will basically do what we want, I think, because I think we should always get to the point where it's purging apart from a very narrow value. And then all you need to do with this program now is if you want to instead capture, I don't know, maybe you want to capture when it was really cold, all you do is just change the values. Just the S273 and 223. Maybe you set them to, oh, well, the coldest it gets here on Mars is -75. So you set it to the equivalent in Kelvin of -75, and then -25 or something like that. And then you'll only capture you during the coldest part of the day, and you'll even take that heat away by running the coolers on that cold temperature. So yeah, it's just a bit of an improvement. You can use that to control things, and I'm just going to turn this off. We have more than enough in the system, I think. Let's take a look. On this side, the temperature's 5 degrees at the moment, but that's the pressure's falling. So is this open? It is open. And the temperature on that side is 17. And that should also have the back pressure regulator open as well, although it may not have kept up to date with, or kept up speed with our filtration unit. It may well be able to keep up a little bit more with our reduced period of cooling and then obviously our reduced period of heating into the furnace. So we may want to play with these values a little bit to give ourselves time to keep things hot, and just fine tune it for your own base. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to keep on looking through here, and I'll let you know what I eventually decide on my base, but yours may be different. So yeah, just a very short part of programming. I know I said it would be a buildy episode, but I did have to just adjust that a little bit, get everything sorted for safety. Okay, the other thing I could do again is just add an even further safety feature to make sure no pipes would ever burst. Is instead of this back pressure regulator, or in addition to, I could put something right here to a passive vent that basically says if it gets to 58, it's just a valve, and we're just going to open the valve, and then there will be an almighty blast of really high pressure CO2. So we may not want to put the passive vent on the end of that in the base, just in case I'm walking by when I get blasted into the ceiling. Other than that, it should all work as advertised. Okay, so at the end of this episode, I've pretty much enjoyed setting up our trash system, and we've also got to the point where we are now. Let's just pop that in there. We're now to the point where I think the base is largely complete up here. I do want to get to the sorting system below, and then maybe whatever we do with the roof, and then we can start considering closing it in, obviously, without all these holes in the walls, and see about decorating the thing. But otherwise, hope you've enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, share as you would normally, and let's just check a look at those batteries. I think I'm actually falling. Yeah, I think the power level is maybe falling. It is getting towards... Is it getting towards sunrise? No, it's going down. So yeah, I'm obviously using a lot of power somewhere. I'll take a look at that between the episodes. But as always, guys, thanks for joining me for the episode. We'll see you next time, and yeah, thanks for watching.